It's the weekend, and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to Jill on Money. We are delighted that you're joining us. If you have a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number here is 855-411-JILL. Our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com. You know, I was reading one of my wonky, weird insider financial journals, and there's an article written by my pal, a guy named Michael Kitsis. He is a certified financial planner. He's got like a zillion designations after his name, but he's a very interesting guy. And he notes that, sometimes people were so hyper about saving for retirement. And he said, it may be that actually some people are, in fact, saving more than they need. I know that's runs contrary to everything you've ever heard. But I think he's talking about, one slice of the population. But here's what I thought was incredibly interesting that he writes. And he said there is some academic research that has found having cash on hand in a checking or savings account was directly correlated with life satisfaction, even after controlling for investments and total spending and indebtedness. In other words, it wasn't about your need for cash, but actually just having it made people feel better. I found that to be so interesting. Because sometimes we give advice here and it's not exactly, oh, my God, you have to have, this much money. But it's really talking about what could make you feel more comfortable financially. That's part of what we do. OK, let's start with a caller. Brandon is up first. Brandon is from San Antonio, Texas. How are you, Brandon? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jill. I'm doing great.
Good. What can I do for you?
We have been into the passive investing and portfolios for a while now, starting back into the early 2000s. But when we started that, there weren't nearly as many products as you see out there today. And we got started for my wife's money. After we got married, she had some money that we needed to transition out of an active strategy into this passive approach. And we went with TD Ameritrade at the time.
Okay.
And so that's worked out well. It was annually rebalanced, and we like the strategy. But they have started to move in a new direction. And when they started moving in a new direction, they're doing what they're calling these essential portfolios. And to transition to those, because they're dropping their old product, and my understanding of that, it's because they're trying to compete with the robo-advisors and to try to meet the fiduciary standard. And they're telling us we have to transition this money out of those accounts. So we're looking at that. There's going to be a tax implication for us. And so we decided to open our aperture and look at other companies doing this. And there are a myriad of choices out there now. And what I'm noticing, though, they're citing the same literature, Fama French and the efficient frontiers and all the stuff that you hear within this kind of product class. They have very different asset allocations. And while I used to be kind of confident that I understood what kind of allocation I wanted, as I'm starting to see this wide variety of allocations, all from Betterment or from TD Ameritrade and even Vanguard, I'm kind of getting into kind of paralysis of analysis and just really looking for some advice from you on what to look at.
So really interesting question, Brandon. So first, let me just come back at you. How old are you and how old is your wife?
So I'm 47. She's 44.
Okay. And because you said there would be some tax event by changing the account at TD Ameritrade. So this is basically a taxable investment account. And how much is in that account?
So that account has $179K in it. And to transition to their essential funds could generate about anywhere between 30 to 14K of capital gain.
No, thank you.
We're not that interested, but they're going to stop that product, so it's going to happen to us. So we said, well, my wife's very upset about that, by the way. So she's like, well, then I'm going to look at other options. And that's kind of what we started researching. We started looking at fees because I'm more aware of fees now. And maybe we just kind of go a new direction.
Let me ask you something. The 179, okay, how is it invested right now? In index funds at TD?
Yeah, it was an old product with Amerivest, and it had about, I think, 15 different assets going from all different classes. Everything from just the basic spread across an efficient portfolio from small bonds. It was aggressive portfolio because we're in an accumulation phase, and it had international, it had small cap. Fairly diversified.
If you called up Fidelity, Vanguard, and you said, I want to open a brokerage account and I want to move everything that exists in my TD account to that new account, would those new accounts be able to hold what you held in your TD account?
Absolutely. Even TD can do that. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, then let's wait.
Just hold it.
Okay. So let's be smart about this for a second.
Okay.
The answer is no, you're not going to incur a tax liability for no reason. That's stupid. Okay. And if your wife is hating on TD, then I would just move the account as is. Do not take a tax hit. And absolutely do not take a tax. Why would we? You take a tax hit when you want to. You can control this to some extent. So then what I would do is I would move it someplace where I'm not going to have a tax event, and I'm going to hold that account. Are you adding new money to that account?
Yes.
If you like the funds, fine. Just make sure that the funds that you own are tax efficient, right? And if they are mostly index funds, they are. When you have a non-retirement account, a plain old taxable account, as you are realizing, you have to pay very close attention to the implications of what your investments are generating on a tax basis. So usually we like the index fund world because it doesn't create a tax liability. Now, when you're talking about different robo-advisors and what they would do, the problem with moving all the money over to a robo is that you would probably have the exact same problem. You would have to blow out of everything. I don't want you to do that.
We don't either.
Yeah. So if you tell me I've got some huge loss and I'm delta neutral, I basically have no tax event if I sold everything and started anew, that's one thing. In terms of what the different approaches are, they do all have somewhat slightly different takes on this. So you're right that, one might have small caps, one might have international. I tend to be more of a generalist. I like a little bit of everything. I prefer some international exposure because even if the U.S. markets are doing well this year, I think over time we know that international and emerging markets it's good to have an allocation there. And even though small caps did really well last year, but not so well the year before, again, it's great to have some small allocation to small caps. So there is, just so you're clear, there's no secret sauce. The secret sauce is that you're a diligent investor. You stick to your game plan. You try really hard to minimize your tax liability. And really, when you think about the big picture, you keep socking away as much money as you can. And that is your secret sauce. How about that?
Yep, we're on to that sauce already.
I love that sauce. That's my 2 cents. So I think I know that you've said you had analysis paralysis. I hope this helps you realize that, the only thing you really need to do right now is talk to your wife about whether she can hold her nose and just stay at a TD brokerage account or whether you're going to move the account elsewhere but not sell everything.
Got it. Yep,
right.
that sounds great. I think she's going to appreciate listening to this, and it'll clear up a lot of things for her, I think.
That's right. Here at Jill on Money, we create marital bliss for you as well. If you've got a financial question, give us a holler, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
The cure to your financial problems could be a phone call away. 855-411-JILL is the number to dial. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we want to hear from you. But if you're a voyeur and you want to hear other people's financial questions, you can go to previous shows. Check out our YouTube channel. Just search Jill Schlesinger or our podcast, Better Off. Subscribe today. All right, let's go talk to Andrea from New York. Hi, Andrea. What can I do for you?
Well, I like many of my fellow graduates, graduated post-recession, and with a swell of around $50,000 in student loan debt. And after about 10 years of, overpaying the minimum payments, I've finally knocked that down to around $25,000. And I'm in a position in this year to be able to kick it to the curb and move on to some more lucrative financial decisions than just paying off. So I'm in a place where I have some concerns about first actually paying off this big milestone and that effect on my credit score, and then also dealing with, living in an expensive city like New York, paying off some credit card debt, and which one, makes more sense to pay off first. At this point.
Okay, let's just go down the list here. So we talking about the education loans, what's the interest rate on that?
I sit at about 6.25%.
Okay. Credit card. How much did you say you have in credit card debt?
I have around $8,000 in credit card debt.
And what's the interest rate on that debt?
Interest rate is sitting at 13%.
What's higher, 13 or 6.25?
6.25. It's a good question. The credit card debt.
So that becomes your priority.
And on top of paying off of my debt, I've also been saving into a 401k. I have a little bit of a purse that's my emergency fund, and then have also been putting money into ETFs to make some more money on putting that money away, so that is what I'm going to be able to pay off the loan with at the end of the year.
How much money is in the ETF account?
So the two separate ones. Currently in the student loan payoff, there's around $16,000, and in my safety net, there's approximately $13,000.
Well, we don't want you to really touch the safety net because we want you to have a safety net, right? So that's number one. The ETF account, the $16,000 that's in there, is there a tax liability associated with selling that?
Yes, there is.
What would the tax be? Or do you know what your cost basis is? Give me a general sense of that. Do you have an idea?
I don't have a sense of.
Okay, so so you've been doing it for a while. You'll have to pay some taxes. Okay, I'm going to give you the certified financial planner in me, and I am the CFP board senior ambassador, so I get to tell you this. The CFP in me wants to say, sell that ETF account, pay your tax that's due, pay off the $8,000 that's on the credit card. Pay it off. You're done. Okay? Next, you will have some money left over. The safety net, is that enough for you? How much money do you earn?
I take home post taxes around $50,000.
Okay, so do you feel like your safety net is 6 to 12 months of your living expenses? Is that?
It's definitely I'd say around 4 months.
Okay.
I'm far more comfortable somewhere between 6 and 8, obviously.
So here's what I would do. I'd sell out the ETF account. I'd use the proceeds to pay off your credit card debt, and then I would take whatever's left over and put it into your safety net account. Now you're going to be set, right? Hopefully. I don't know exactly what your tax liability is. Okay. So without the credit card debt and without putting money into an ETF account, if I took that chunk of money, can you direct that towards paying down the credit card debt? The student loan debt? Can you take that amount of money?
Absolutely.
And what is that on a monthly basis, would you guess?
On a monthly basis right now, I'm paying approximately $600 a month, and that's in addition to continuing to put money into the ETF.
I would stop putting money into a risk asset. This is going to be heresy for some people, but I think this is a more conservative approach. My approach would be you take all of your available cash flow and you pay down that student loan debt and you get rid of it. And that's how you deal with it. And you keep putting money. What I'd like you to do is to keep putting money into a retirement account while you are paying down your student loans. The credit card's going to be gone. That's should alleviate some of the pain point for you.
Definitely.
But I think if you now redirect your money and you push it into that credit card and do retirement savings, then you're going to be in good shape. Through work, do you have a retirement account or not?
We do. Our company has a standard 401k that I've been putting money into since I was in college. So I match it. Our company alleviated, unfortunately, the company match for one whole year, but I put approximately 7% of my pre-tax income into that 401k every 2 weeks.
Okay. I mean, you can keep doing that, and if you'd like, you can use a Roth IRA for anything else that's, in my mind at least, you should be doing. You do your 401k, you pay down your outstanding student loan bill, and if you can, if there's a little extra money, then sure, do a Roth. That's fine. But until you get this college loan paid off, I mean, 6.25% is a real number. It's not a 0%. And I would feel much more comfortable once you get this under say, $10,000 to start ratcheting up your retirement savings. But I think that you're in great shape. You've done a really good job of whittling this down. You had money that was at risk by investing. You won that bet. But I don't know what the next X years are going to find. And so, again, I think from a conservative perspective, we pay down the credit card debt. We put our cash flow towards paying down that student loan debt. And you, instead of putting money at risk in the markets right this second, you continue to whittle down the student loans while you are continuing to save for retirement. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense.
I think that's what we do. And I would not make yourself crazy. You're young, right? How old are you now?
I just literally hit 31 the other day.
Oh, you've got so much time. It's a beautiful thing. So that is why I mean it's great. Is there anything else that's coming up? Are you partnered, getting married, having children? Is anything happening near term that we need to think about?
I know within the next 5 years, I'll be in a position. Or I know I want to purchase an income property. Now, living in New York, I have rent, but will be purchasing some type of house or home outside of the state.
Okay.
Which is why I have some concerns about my, obviously, credit score and FICO score, considering if I do pay down the debt, which has been a burden, also has been the thing that's kept my credit score very good.
Well, let me just say that you kept your credit score good. So here's what you don't have to worry about that. If you pay off your loan, it doesn't hurt your credit score. But what you should not do is do not close the credit card account when you pay it off. Keep it open. Mm-hmm. That's the only because the credit score is based on lots of different factors. The most important is, do you pay your bills on time? The other is, how much of your available credit are you utilizing? Okay. Mm-hmm. So just don't close out that credit card account once you pay off the $8,000 bill. Keep the credit card. All right. It doesn't mean you have to. I mean, you can use it and pay the bill every month, but just don't accumulate debt on it and don't close it. And by having an installment loan, which is student loan, that will keep your credit score nice and robust. But you promise to call back when you're ready to buy that property so we can really see if that's in your best interest.
Oh, I absolutely will. The most satisfying check I think I'll ever write is that check that ties off the student loan.
Yes, baby. Yes. All right. Good luck. Thanks so much for calling, Andrea. All right. If you have a financial question, we want to hear from you. 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money. Here she is, Jill Schlesinger.
What you want, baby? You're back with Jill on Money. I love this song. The legendary Queen, Aretha Franklin. I was just listening to a little Aretha Franklin when I was traveling around. I found some great old stuff. I was not in a pink Cadillac. No, I was not. But some of that old stuff is so fantastic. It really is. Okay. You are listening to the show that takes the mystery out of your financial life, but only if you let us know what's going on in that mysterious financial life of yours. Give us a holler, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Let's go out and take a call. It's Cheryl from Massachusetts. Hi, Cheryl. How can I help you today?
I just retired about a year and a half ago, and I am able to spend a little bit more time now looking at our portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
We hired a financial planner a few years back, and we're very happy with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a spreadsheet on the fees that he's actually getting per year,
Mm-hmm.
and 2% didn't sound like a lot until I actually looked.
Okay, so the investment advisory fee is 2%. Now, here's my question to you. How big is the portfolio?
It's over $1 million.
What?
Yeah.
2% for $1 million portfolio? You're getting screwed. You're getting screwed. That's the best way I can say it. He might be a nice guy, but that's too much to pay. Wait, well, I should also start to ask you some other questions instead of being that knee jerk, okay? So let's rewind the tape. Oh, 2% seems like a little bit more expensive than I'd like for $1 million portfolio. Okay, so what else does he do? Does he do like full big time financial planning for you guys?
No, in the beginning when we first went with him, he explained what he did, what his strategy was,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm happy with him.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, once I figured out how much I was giving him, it was over $17,000 last year.
It hurts, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
by the way,
and I'm like, is that what typically a financial planner does? I mean, he doesn't really do anything else but manage that money.
mm-hmm. It's not like you're saying to him, could you, give me new pension calculations every month? Or you're not asking him to do a lot more of heavy-duty financial planning work for you,
He
right?
did in the beginning before I retired to see if I could retire, if I was able to retire. And the numbers all looked good, and here I am retired now and have more time to look at these things. And
This is interesting. So when you say you're happy with him, you mean you're happy with the performance? You feel like you're comfortable?
I am happy with the performance.
Is it individual stocks?
Most of it, yes.
Okay, so I have a totally fabulous idea for you. All right?
Okay.
Because you like him, and I think that is fine. I don't want to tell you, go away, don't do that. But I think that you go to him and you say, 2% feels like a really high fee when I compare fees that are out there, okay? Because generally we start to see 2% with portfolios of under $500,000. So I would first say to him, hey, can you help me on the fee? Because I just, you can say, I understand that fees are really a lot lower with many financial advisors around. And you could say that. Look, even if he went from, say, 2% to 1.5%, that 0.5% savings goes right to your bottom line.
I do want to mention that he doesn't charge any other fee as far as buying or selling stocks. I don't pay anything else other than that 2%.
Okay, so that includes all of your transaction costs. Which
Correct.
Is, okay. It's still a little high for me because is he actively trading that much? I can't imagine that he's going in and out and in and out.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Okay, so then here's your other idea. So let's say that he says, Cheryl, this is my fee. Tough luck. Like it or lump it. He could.
Yeah.
I mean, he might. Then what I do think would be good for you is to get a second opinion. And I think that there's plenty of people who would be happy to talk to you and say, I mean, they're going to try to sell you their services. But I think that what would be interesting is for you to see what else is out there. Because this portfolio, first of all, that you have individual stocks is interesting, number one. But number two, the fact that it's all stocks makes me a little nervous. I mean, do you have a pension?
I do. I have a pension of about $30,000 a year.
And are you married?
Yes.
You forgot to mention that. No, I'm just kidding. You did say we. And is spouse retired as well?
No.
Okay.
He's still working.
And so you're not drawing on this $1 million portfolio,
No,
right?
not at all.
Okay. Your husband, when do you think he might retire?
Not for another 5 years, maybe.
That's my favorite kind of spouse, the one that keeps working.
We have to for the insurance.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so your husband will retire in 5 years. And then how much money does he have set aside for retirement?
He has about, he started with a new company a few years back, so he has about $80,000 in his 401, 403B right now.
Okay. So I think there's two big issues that would actually be a good reason for you to get a second opinion. But even if you love this guy, okay? Number one is the fee. And by the way, for advisors out there, see what happens when you get to be a pig? You raise the radar of your client, and now we're going to go get a second opinion. But that's what happens. Hey, sorry. Okay. But the second thing is, I'm not keen on the fact that you're mostly in stocks. I do not see why someone in your situation should have that much risk. So I would like to do this. I'm going to have Mark pick up the phone. We're going to get your email address. And I'm going to give you a couple of names of people. I can't do this for everyone, by the way, because I just happen to know in the Massachusetts broader area, I know some people who are doing business there. And Cheryl, I'm going to send you the names of a couple of advisors that will give you a second opinion. And that's what we're going to do. And I think that that's a good game plan. Nothing sudden, no sudden moves. But, and maybe we go get that second opinion first, and then you go back to the advisor, and then we ask for a reduction in fee. All right. When we come back, we're going to cover more of your questions. Give us a holler, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Wondering how to make your money work for you? Get on the line now. 855-411-JILL. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 855-411-JILL. Our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com. You can follow us on Twitter @JillOnMoney, where Mark is busily trying to convince me that we're adding more people faster than we're losing them, which he says we are. If you have questions about whatever is going on in your life, we'd like to hear from you. But if you want to just kind of do a little research, hop onto our website, JillOnMoney.com. Some fun content there, video, old radio shows. You can check out our YouTube channel. Just search Jill Schlesinger, and do subscribe to our podcast. It's called Better Off. You can get it on Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, anywhere else you find your favorite podcasts. So we'd love to hear from you, and love to get you listening to slightly different content that we have created. All right. Okay. This is from BJ, who says, I am retired, 72 years of age, and I've got some money in an IRA from when I worked. I already had to take my minimum required distribution based on that IRS regulation. Here is my question. Should I withdraw over a period of time and pay the taxes yearly, or close out the account and be done with it? Because of my retired status, the money is no longer managed or reinvested by the company. Thank you for your insight. I don't know what that last bit means, but in general, I like dribbling out the minimum required distributions or required minimum distributions because it sort of keeps your tax bill to a minimum. But if you've got a tiny account and it doesn't change your tax bracket and you just want to be done with it, I guess you could do it. I mean, look, the longer the money stays tax deferred, the better off it would be for you. But so in general, my preference is to dribble it out. But either way, you're going to be fine. Okay. Earl wants to know, says, our financial advisor wants us to sign a form for options trading and margin. Is this a good idea? No, this is not a good idea. There's absolutely no reason why you have to have options trading. And I wouldn't see, and as a former options trader, I would say don't do that. The margin agreement, some brokers like you to have a margin agreement just open. What is margin? Margin means that you have the ability to purchase securities with borrowed funds. And there are a lot of rules around margin. I don't know what kind of investor you are, but in general, I would say, you know what, Earl? You don't need to sign that kind of an account. I would leave that be. And ask, why do I have to sign that? I would ask the broker or the advisor, him or herself. You know? Oh, gosh. Sometimes it's hard. I want to say something nice about the industry. It's just sometimes they make it really hard for us. You know what I mean, Mark? Mark, how are you feeling about all this research about women and retirement? I got a new study from Transamerica about, what 64% of women don't have a retirement backup plan. Just 10% are confident about retirement. Just over half plan to retire after age 65 or not at all. 3/4 of women who are offered a plan do participate in it. I don't know. I don't know why we still have to have these specific facts that are female versus male based, but I guess it's a way to appeal to women to say, kick it into gear, sisters, because statistically, you're going to outlive your husbands or, or your partners. And I just think that sometimes people blow off this research. And, the fact that half of these women plan to work after they retire, to me, is interesting, but it sort of jives with a lot of other studies. We just want people to pay attention to their retirement. We want people, and women and men, to really be clear that they're going to have to do more than use Social Security. And we want you to take this into your own hands, to take control more than anything else. If you could just take control of this process, you'd be so much better off. And for some reason, women seem, at least statistically, based on not just this study, but other studies, that women are not planning to manage their financial lives as actively as we would like. On the other hand, I would also say that just be careful that you're not falling prey to some marketer who's like, oh, I'm going to put like a pretty pink ribbon on my marketing materials, and I'm really geared towards women. I'm not exactly sure why someone would be geared towards women, except like maybe you want to work with a woman. But there are plenty of guys who are great advisors, phenomenal advisors, who work incredibly well with women. So I wouldn't shut the door on them either. It's the same exact process. You've got to figure out what you're spending today. You got to figure out how much of that you're going to need in the future. You have to use a calculator to help you determine whether you're on track to save enough. And if you're not, you need to save more. It's sort of simple. I don't like to make it more complicated than necessary. You're listening to Jill on Money. Money is not scary. It's not boring. It's a little bit of fun here. 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, can be pretty much anything. Don't care. Could be cash flow, could be saving, could be investing, estate, insurance. Come on, tell us what's going on. 855-411-JILL. Send an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Here is a question from Aaron, who says, thank you so much for your podcast and radio show. She actually says, with your producer, Mark. Mark! You have provided valuable money insight to many, including myself. You've also increased my confidence in preparing for my financial future. Love that. Aaron says, I'd love to get your opinion on real estate investment opportunities through companies such as Realty Mogul and Fundrise as places to grow a little more income long term. So, Fundrise and Realty Mogul are two of the top crowdfunding real estate platforms that are out there. So they basically make it easier for sponsors to connect with investors for property or real estate deals. I don't know. I'm not that into these ideas. And I'll tell you why. Who needs this? Like these annual returns, it's always well and good to say, like I'm just looking at Fundrise has raised, $40 million. That's like nothing, first of all. And they say the average returns between 10 and 16% today. Yeah, today. That's while the real estate market is booming. And Realty Mogul was founded in 2013. They only have $10 million. These are tiny. I don't know. I'm not into these. I am not incredibly impressed by using crowdfunding versus just a plain old real estate investment trust. And that is an easy thing to do. And there are even indexes of real estate investment trusts. Aaron, you asked the question at the end, is it better to just keep plugging money into an individual taxable account at Betterment after I max out my retirement contributions? Yes, it is better. Thank you. Thanks for writing. And stay tuned. We've got CFP and author Douglas Boneparth. He is up next here at Jill on Money. 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, which means it's time for Jill on Money, the show that makes money fun and just happens to answer all your financial questions. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's hour number 2 of Jill on Money, and we are delighted that you are with us. And do we have a great idea for your bust-out millennial kids? No, they're not bust-outs. We love them. We love them. But we've got an author of a new book out, and I think that this is going to be really terrific because this is well-suited for many of our listeners, but also for their parents or their grandparents. Maybe the kids are going off to college. Maybe they should get this as their little, hey, read this. So we have certified financial planner Douglas Boneparth. He is also the author of a new book, a co-author with your wife, right?
That's right.
With your wife of the Millennial Money Fix, available and in all of your favorite book outlets on August 21st. You can, of course, pre-order. Hi, Douglas.
Hey there.
Welcome to the program.
It's good to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Why'd you write this book?
Well, I felt there was a need. I felt that we're not really offered the kind of financial education that we should receive, and someone's got to do it.
Why you?
Well, it kind of goes into the story. I watched my wife, her friends, a lot of my peers come out of college out of 2007, go into the job market only for, 2008 to happen, and a lot of them decided to go pursue graduate degrees. Well, things didn't look so good by the time they received those degrees, and they were left holding an inordinate amount of student loan debt, my wife in particular. So I wondered, how did we get to this place? How did we have almost an entire generation make uninformed financial decisions around their money, around their education? So it's having an impact. It has to stop.
And you believe that it is those early at college decisions that could be contributing to some of like the root causes to the problems, or is it something beyond that?
I think it goes beyond. I'm touching on a part of the timeline here that affects those who are in college or just about to go to college, and certainly those who have already experienced this, the older millennials, right? But I think it goes further in that financial literacy is void from any academic curriculum. And I would argue that starting these lessons earlier than even high school would go much further.
Now, there have been some studies about financial literacy that don't actually prove that people who are financially literate make good financial decisions. Is that because this is all just so emotional?
Well, I think that emotions play a very big part in the financial decisions that we make. But I would find it difficult to believe that, we're not passing the logic and reason test, that an informed person, doesn't make more informed decisions, even if you add back the emotional side. It's hard for me to believe that. But yeah, money is emotional.
Yeah. I mean, you're a CFP, so you've got clients, you've got older. Do you find that your older clients are better versed, or is it just their experience? They've had to live their life and learn it along the way. I mean, is this a decades-old problem or a more recent problem in terms of literacy in your mind?
No, the book points out, and one of the things we wanted to take a look at was how has financial education played a role throughout the generations, from my grandparents to my parents to our generation. And what we've seen is it's really not a part of anyone's generation. It's really the circumstances surrounding us. So for my grandparents who fought in World War II. That was my grandfather. I mean, hiding money under the mattress wasn't a joke to them. They saw how easily things could be taken away. They lived through the Depression. So their money habits were born out of fear. And it did well by them in many regards. Now, the other side of that is it restricted their willingness to maybe take risks. And then you get to our parents and baby boomers, where the environment has shifted into more slippery financial products. Maybe they were a little bit more bold with the risks that they would take. But again, financial education really not there. So for millennials, it's kind of caught up to us.
You say that millennials were not healthy as kids. How so?
That was a great line that Heather put in the book. We were devoid of all nutrition, both, what we were eating and the financial kind of education we deserve. It's kind of a hail to fast food being, available. I remember running to McDonald's or Taco Bell. I still love these places, and I'll admit that.
Sorry.
Yeah,
coming clean. Coming out here about your fast food habits.
Gotta have it once in a while. But, it goes to show that today, in these kids today have organic everything, and that's kind of tied to how I think financial literacy is becoming more popular. People are caring more and more. I mean, here we are on this show, and people are paying attention.
I was under the impression that the millennial, especially the younger millennial generation, there was an argument that perhaps they were going to become like children of the Depression because they grew up in such uncertain times. Is it your understanding that, at least with the younger millennials, that they are more risk averse, or that they are a little more careful about their money because this was thrust upon them at such a formative age?
I do find that to be the case. And I even see it in the older millennials, too. I think it's a closer comparison to compare the greatest generation with millennials because of the things that we've observed from 2007, 2008 in the recession.
And what do you think is the lesson that they learned from this period?
I think you mentioned it. It's to be cautious and to be careful. I read a tweet the other day that was like, millennials don't want to get married and have kids. Well, the reason for that is they don't want to be broke parents, my grandpa always said, love finds a way, start a family. Well, Grandpa, it's 2017 and we have student loan debt and a very different labor environment that we need to tackle. There's no pensions. Will Social Security be there for us? And these are our economic realities. And look, it's not going to war. These are sacrifices that my grandfather and grandparents have made so that we would never have to do that. But this is our reality. These challenges are difficult. We want, I would say, again, another thing I read is millennials only want to live in the big cities and share everything. They don't want to buy homes. I think that's a myth, too.
Really?
I definitely think that's a myth. And I think we're trying to get as cliche as this is, our slice of that American pie as well. But we need to go about it very differently, and we need to be educated on the things that this book touches on so we can actually achieve those great things in life.
Can you talk a little bit about, maybe you can't talk about that because Mark's like, no, we have a break.
Okay.
So let's just do a break. When we come back, I do want to talk a little bit about because you just briefly mentioned about the labor market and that it is different. And I want to talk about how that informs millennials and some of the different pressures that they are under. You are listening to Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. And stay tuned. We will continue our conversation with certified financial planner Douglas Boneparth, author of a brandy new book, The Millennial Money Fix. We'll be right back.
Annuities, IRAs, 401ks. She covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. I'm Jill Schlesinger. And if you didn't know it, I am a certified financial planner myself and the senior CFP board ambassador. And I am joined by another CFP board ambassador, Douglas Boneparth. But he's in practice. He's got like a real job. But as if that weren't enough, with a wife and a family, you also wrote a book called The Millennial Money Fix. And right before we went to the break, we were just touching on the idea of a changing labor market. So millennials, which I guess the oldest millennials were born when? 1982, 3?
Yeah.
So they graduated into what? The dot-com boom bust. Or that's high school. So they were but they were pretty much set right before the financial crisis. They should have actually had
They had a good period of time,
right?
a good few years to really ramp themselves up before, the sky would come crashing down.
But the younger ones, it's a different economy. They graduate, let's presume that you graduate in 2006 or beyond, right?
Okay.
And what is your view of the labor market when you're that age in those years? What do you think those kids are coming out seeking out of the labor market, even if it's and then also go into the financial crisis and explain what do kids want?
Well, I think those who take myself, for example. I graduated in 2007, right before, imminently before. I moved to New York City as people were carrying boxes out of Lehman Brothers. So I really, nothing like moving to New York in the financial services industry. I thought I was going right back home. Mm-hmm. So really, I'd say for those right thereafter struggling to get jobs, the 2008, 9, 10 grads, and, this is Heather's story, graduating from law school.
Heather, your wife.
Heather, my wife, and co-author. Her graduating in 2010, taking out multiple six figures in debt. That is where we look at this labor environment and say to ourselves, oh my goodness, how am I going to curate a career for myself when the landscape has changed? And you can pick multiple sectors and look at what's happened here, whether it's journalism, right? So reporters getting cut from mastheads, and now you have freelancers coming in. You have to really create content and sell it to the highest bidder. And even in her industry, law, no one's paying those $100,000 billable hours like they were before. So law firms are going to farm out a lot of that work.
So do you think, well, let me ask you point blank, does your wife regret going to law school?
I think if she had understood what the financial consequences were, she would have made different decisions, perhaps chosen a different school or pursued her real passion of writing, perhaps, or done things differently. That much is sure, and we touch on that in the book.
What about this idea around this, that millennials want to be able to have a life too? So older people like me who might be listening to this kind of roll their eyes sometimes and say, you just said something funny about what they want. And we graduated and you just did whatever your boss did. You didn't care how long you worked, how hard you worked, what you had to do. And you just rolled your sleeves up, you did your stuff, and you advanced. And you know, you say in the book that contrary to our critics, millennials actually don't seek the holy grail of jobs, that they are not unwilling to settle for anything less than sunshine, roses, and office beanbag chairs. So school me in what the millennial view on work is about then.
Sure. So I think a lot of this is the fact that we've worked very hard in educating ourselves and levered ourselves and have technology unparalleled to any other time. And because we have this kind of access to information, we know we can have impact and make change in other ways. Now, not everyone needs to go into their job and say, hey, I'm going to change the world. Mm-hmm. But to think that the labor environment or the way we approach jobs are the same as the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, that's a joke.
What is it that you think is so different, though? I mean, is it about the gig economy? Is it just not as much availability? Are you talking about that just the cost of education is so much higher that people must go into debt to get that education? I mean, how do you see that?
So there's a lot of factors at play. You know, we've created this notion that educating yourself with a college degree is a right and not a privilege. And because of that construct, we think that in order to compete, we need to go pursue that paper. And this is true. The numbers are there to support that.
Right. You could make an extra $800,000 over the life of your career. The unemployment rate is lower if you have a college degree. But
if you don't show the other side of that equation, which is how you actually get a return on that investment, so you're going to spend, $10,000 a year servicing your student loan debt to make that extra $8,000. That's negative $2,000 a year to have leverage yourself. And this is the disservice that we're doing to young people. We're telling them they need to educate themselves to go make more money, but we're not providing them with financial education so they understand just exactly how that pays off.
How do you think parents should be having these conversations with their kids, and how early do you? We had Beth Kobliner on. She writes a lot about educating kids.
She's great.
And she talked about having conversations with your teenagers when they were freshmen in high school to start chatting about hey, this is what this family can afford. But she also talked about how it's very difficult to make someone who's that age understand the consequences of these decisions. So what do you think? I mean, you're someone who's in practice, and so I think you've had these discussions with your clients, presumably about their own kids. And I'm wondering, what is it that they can say to break through?
I think that we have to break down this, the stereotype that it's taboo to talk with your kids about money. My father's a CFP as well, so my household isn't the best example, But I think for most households that, it shouldn't be spoken of. You don't talk about this stuff. So I would argue the earlier the better. And as we said before on the show, you got to get in early. I was talking to a colleague of mine with her little children, elementary school, and they set up a, fake store with candy bars and fruits and all these things you could buy, and they gave each kid $1 and said, hey, you have $1 to spend here in this store. Think about what it is you really want. And it's things like these that put a smile on my face to see how we can be constructive. She even went on to tell, hey, we're going on vacation. And the reason we can go on vacation is because mommy and daddy go to work every day. You don't have to get much more complicated than that. But the kids are starting to learn lessons that, okay, work equal ability to do cool things. So start there.
Yeah.
You got to start with a simple foundation. Hitting them up, at 17, 18 when, they know maybe too much at that point might not stick. Yeah.
We are talking to author Douglas Boneparth. Do you like hearing that? Author?
It's weird.
Is that cool?
Yeah, it's very cool.
All right. Certified financial planner.
Yeah.
CFP board ambassador. How shall I say that? That's kind of good.
I like that
Douglas Boneparth. I just was interested that you said, because I guess that I didn't call you Douglas, and I may have said Doug when I met you earlier in the year, and now I feel bad about that.
You should not feel bad about that.
Because I have a nephew, Douglas, and I never call him Doug. But I thought you were a Doug.
It was one of those things. When I moved to New York, I had the opportunity to rebrand my name. Everyone called me Doug, and I said, hey, let's go with Douglas.
What was your nickname? Was it Doug? I hate to tell you
no,
that
it's Doug.
My grown-up nephew, we call him Dougie still, which is bad.
That's bad.
That's bad.
That's the one that only my little cousin can get away with.
Dougie? He's from Florida, but he lives in Jersey now.
Yeah.
So
Who'd have thought?
Mark's asking that question. Okay, so when we come back with Douglas Boneparth, we're going to talk more about millennials. We're going to talk about their relationship to money. The Millennial Money Fix is the name of the book. Go pre-order it right this second. Right now, it is available August 21st. Douglas, in his book, says, our lovers love to say we are jaded, impatient, or entitled. Without question, I know they are wrong. We are not the crybabies they, I think he's talking about me, paint us out to be. We just don't have the tools to do it better. And so when we return with Douglas Boneparth, we're going to talk about ways that we can help millennials do it better, meaning manage their financial lives. You're listening to Jill on Money, 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger. Want to get in touch? Call or email any day, anytime. 855-411-JILL or askjill@jillonmoney.com.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we want to hear from you. 855-411-JILL. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We are so lucky to have Douglas Boneparth. He is a practicing certified financial planner, professional certificant. He is also a CFP board ambassador. That's just how I met him. And he's also written a great new book called The Millennial Money Fix. And it is available on August 21st, but you can pre-order it right now. So, Douglas, before we went to the break, you said that millennials are not crybabies, that we just need to help empower you and everyone else with the tools to manage your money better. Now, I would suspect, though, with technology and the millennials' ability to access that technology, that they'd be perfect candidates to kind of be all over their money. What's going on?
Yeah, as much as I love technology and, if I lost my phone, I'd just shut down.
FYI, my girlfriend lost her phone last night. I thought she was going to have a complete meltdown.
Yeah, that'll happen. But even with all this wonderful technology and all these great apps that you hear coming out every day to help you with your money, in a lot of cases, they're just shortcuts from the fundamentals that you must do.
Yeah, but for example, when I was coming out of school, the way that you managed your money and kept track of how much money you spent was you wrote things down.
That's what I'm talking about.
But now you have mint.com, or you need a budget, or you have links. You have the ability to have your bank account in your pocket, with your phone. No, it's not happening. You're really crushing my dreams.
Sorry, it's called Microsoft Excel. You want to do a budget? This is what I'm a professional. And I'll go in there and revise my budget and cash flow on a quarterly basis in Excel.
But why not use an app?
Because apps sometimes can be shortcuts, and these are areas of personal finance where we don't need a shortcut. I think millennials do fall into that trap. This is where that immediate gratification stigma comes from. It's our ability to, it gets confused with the technology and the tools that we have. But there are instances, this is one of them, where it can be a shortcut. And we're trying to, simplify something that, quite frankly, should not be. You have to give the foundational concepts, these fundamental things, the time and attention they deserve.
Do I get a badge for using your Microsoft Outlook various or spreadsheets or Excel or anything like that?
I think doing it is its own reward.
No, I'm just laughing because so I love this comment you say in the book. Cash flow is the first step toward financial freedom. It's very interesting to note that sometimes when, as financial planners, we are asked to do things that are, how can I say, obvious. Help me manage my money better. You cannot make someone do that, can you?
No.
You can encourage them.
Sure.
You can.
I'll be their cheerleader. I'll shake my pom-poms for them all the way.
But they've got to do it themselves, right?
You got to walk that line yourself. Listen, It actually starts by understanding what you want in this world and the things that you want for yourself, goal setting. And we give you a great system in the book of how to actually go beyond just, well, these are my goals.
All right, well, walk us through that.
Sure. So 3 steps. First, identify your goals. You should know what they are.
But how do I know what they are? I'm 24 years old. I don't know anything. I'm an idiot.
You got to start somewhere. And
Give me an idea.
We give you some basic examples.
Like?
Have a cash reserve. Pay off your student loan debt. Maybe you want to start a business someday. You could be saving for a ring. You might want to save for a wedding. And even the thought of financial independence and retirement may come through. So there's 6 I just rattled off right there? Those are basic, general. They don't touch on the subjective nature of you, the individual. You tell me you want to go on a Virgin rocket ship to the moon in space? Cool, let's make that a goal.
You're an idiot, but okay.
Yeah, let's figure out how to get, Hey, I mean, listen, if you go through the system, so step 2, you got to quantify your goals by time and value. So now we're taking it further. When do you want to achieve this goal, and how much is it going to cost? And then lastly, prioritize. You can't do them all at once. When you have multiple financial goals, this is where that honesty thing comes into place. Which ones are more important? Now, here's a great example. When Heather and I found out we were having Hazel, all of a sudden buying a home went quickly up the list of things on our financial goal
Well, you're
order.
absolutely, I mean, when you say they're common goals, that obviously everybody has to take stock of what is the most important, at any time.
Yeah,
How
they'll
many
move.
goals should people try to lay out in a given moment?
3.
3 is good.
3 is good. I think after that, it starts to get very difficult. But, if your earning power is, really good, you might be able to throw more in there. But 3 is probably topping it out for most young professionals or people in general.
Where do you fall on the idea of establishing an emergency reserve versus paying down debt?
Awesome question, asked all the time. So there's the subjective quality here. When it comes to emergency funds, what's the difference between holding, 3 or 6 or 9 months? Well, how do you feel about the world around you, your job, your family situation? That might be what makes you become more conservative or aggressive with that. So if you can navigate these subjective qualities of yourself and your attitudes of how you feel, you might be able to have a better shot at allocating money towards various goals, whether it be student loans or establishing a cash reserve.
Okay, last question before the break.
Yeah.
Mark and I love to get this question. We always get it this time of year. What is the appropriate amount of money to spend on a wedding? Mark's not married yet, but I'm planning his wedding.
I'd rather you spend the money on the honeymoon, but an appropriate amount, $10,000, $15,000.
Oh, my God.
What are we talking about? New York here? Then, $50,000 to $100,000.
It's so awful.
I know. It's a lot of money.
Do you remember? You don't remember this, but I remember. I remember when my father said, here's the amount of money that is available for your wedding. And otherwise, you can take the entire amount and save it.
Yeah.
And you could elope. He said, which would be my absolute great recommendation.
Wise man.
Or you could spend it all, in which case you are left with a dirty cake knife. But good luck on that.
And memories.
Yeah.
Like I said, the honeymoon made
The
more
honeymoon.
Yeah.
Where'd you go on your honeymoon?
Italy.
Nice.
Good spot.
Where in Italy, Mark wants to know?
We went to Florence, Rome, the Amalfi Coast, and the Tuscan Coast.
We're talking to Douglas Boneparth, who spent all of his money on his honeymoon. Hopefully got some. He is a certified financial planner. He is also the author co-author with his wife, Heather, of the Millennial Money Fix. Does she go by Boneparth also?
She does.
Oh, my God. All right. When we return, more with Douglas. We'll be right back.
Just because I can't see you anymore. That's because, honey, you're doing too to fall. Maybe trouble is your middle name. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger. Have a question? Call or email anytime. 855-411-JILL or ask Jill at jillonmoney.com.
You're back with Jill on Money. We are joined this hour by our guest, Douglas Boneparth. He is a certified financial planner. He is also the co-author with his wife, Heather of the Millennial Money Fix, which is available on August 21st. But don't worry, you can pre-order it right now, so that's good.
Yeah, go get it.
Go get it wherever you get your books. So we've talked a lot about the millennials and kind of what got them here. Talk a little bit about, maybe the second half of the book and some of the more practical aspects to how millennials should be addressing their financial lives.
Sure. So, yeah, that first part really kind of lays out how we got where we are. But what we really want to do is have our reader become financially educated. So what we've done is we've put together a chronological guide of how to build up all the lessons you should have learned in your life's journey about personal finance but didn't, starting with selecting colleges and understanding student loan debt before you take it out. Granted, a lot of our readers might have already made these decisions, but then maybe you want to go to the next chapter, which is thinking about managing your cash flow in your first job, mid-career, settling down with your family, financial independence, what's insurance, employee benefits. So we'll take you step by step and make sure you understand exactly what you need to know to make smart decisions with your money.
And you also go through some of the boring topics that people hate, like, you said employee benefits, but I mean insurance. I mean, people can't stand insurance.
No.
They don't, and probably because number one, it's oversold, but number two, they don't understand why they do need it.
Sure. Look, this book is practical. We try and add as much humor and draw upon our stories. It's relevant to today's investor, young person, anybody. So whether you're a parent of a millennial and you want to pass this knowledge to them, whether you want to understand millennials for yourself and you're a manager of millennials, if you care about the future, the economy, and these things and achieving great things in life, then, millennials matter to you. Let's get past these stigmas and stereotypes. Like every generation had that.
You know what? I'm not part of any generation.
You don't have to be.
No, I'm serious. Like I actually am on the cusp of everything, and I don't really fall into any one generation. Ergo, I'm a woman without a generation.
That's okay.
You think so?
But I would argue you still, you're a CFP, so you get the stuff. But even someone who's not a part of any generation, you deserve to achieve great things in life. And in order to do that, you need the knowledge found in these pages.
Why do you have to earn the right to invest?
Yeah, we call investments the sizzle of personal finance, right? It's sexy. Everybody wants to talk about this, and we can thank, guys like Mr. Kramer for screaming in your face on TV every day. It's exciting stuff. I get it. But you have to start with the foundational concepts and the fundamentals, and you have to earn your right to actually put risk on your money. This means you know what your goals are, you've gone through that exercise, you've mastered your cash flow, you're able to see expenses and income 3 months down the line, you have a cash reserve, and you've pretty much have your short-term cash goals in order. Then, only then, shy of missing out on free money in your 401k, the one violation of this, only then have you earned the right to invest. So don't come ask me for a hot stock tip.
What do you think is the hardest part of the financial planning process for people to wrap their arms around?
I think it's got to go back to cash flow and the fundamentals and the goal setting. Often what seems to be the most simple is not. Helping people manage money, that's easy. Put together an estate plan and some basic legal documents that they need, sure. But helping people figure out what they want from themselves and make those constructive decisions, that's hard. We said it before. There's only so much we really can do, but great service and great relationships, great questions, it's going to go a very long way when it comes to working with clients.
We are talking to Douglas Boneparth. He is a certified financial planner. He is actually a CFP board ambassador. He is in practice, and he is co-author of a new book, co-author with his wife, called The Millennial Money Fix. And by the way, I should have had it. Why didn't Heather come in today?
She's a busy girl.
Good God.
She's working full time, mommy. She is a power woman. She's everything.
Good. It's too much. It is too much. When we come back, we've got a teeny tiny short segment.
Yeah.
And I want to just have you touch on throw up your CFP banner for a second, and let's talk a little bit about Fiduciary.
Okay.
And you make a plug for why you think this is important or whether it is not important, how you see it, because I think It's obviously been in the news all summer, and we know that the CFP board is now talking about some new standards, how the fiduciary rule would necessarily impact that, or how the fiduciary duty will be applied for certified financial planners. So we have a last segment is 3 minutes long. So gather your thoughts, Douglas.
Okay.
You feel good about it?
Ready to go.
You can rock on.
Do it right now.
All right. Douglas Boneparth will help us finish up the show today. Again, his book is called The Millennial Money Fix. It is available on August 21st. You can pre-order it now and hop onto that. And while you're there, by the way, you can go to jillonmoney.com and maybe check out a couple of things about Fiduciary, because this is kind of stuff we write about all the time. And then you can also email Mark anytime at askjill@jillonmoney.com. Notice how I say Mark? It's not me anymore. All right. When we return, our last segment, finishing up the show with Douglas. We'll be right back.
What they say, go ahead, let 'em outside. Let's see the world falls apart. I wanna be with you. I wanna be with you. That's what I wanna do. 'Cause you lay rip out my heart. I wanna be with you. I wanna be with you. That's all I wanna do. All right.
You're back with Jill on Money. We're finishing up the show with our guest, Douglas Boneparth. He is a certified financial planner. Oh, plug your own website, Douglas.
Yeah, let's plug some things. You should check out bonafidewealth.com. BONE, that is, bonafidewealth.com. You can check out what we're doing with our firm and helping young professionals and millennials and entrepreneurs achieve the great things in life. And then you can also head to the millennialmoneyfix.com for the book. Check us out on Twitter as well, at Doug Boneparth. We got lots of great content.
Oh, so you can use Doug on Twitter, but not I can't.
It was a character limitation thing. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
That's really what
fine.
happened there.
All right. Okay. Fiduciary. Go.
All right. So, pretty hardcore about this, right? You know, anything shy of this standard, I think it's Wall Street greed at its finest. You know, I'm not convinced that, you know, outside of this high level of doing what's in your client's best interest above all else, that is what should be happening across the board.
Yeah, of course. And people think that's what they are getting. That's the problem.
No, you're absolutely not. You know, it's muddy water here. And to think that there are actual proponents of anything less than doing what's in the best interest. I mean, we're talking about people's financial well-being, their lives, their money. It blows my mind how there are people saying no. And then I realize, you know, there's a lot of money at stake. You know, this costs firms money. You know, it's political. You know, let's cut that BS and look at what it is. These are hardworking Americans out there who are going to professionals to help them achieve great things in life, and they're not putting their client's interest above all else.
It just seems so absurd when you say it like that, right? And that it's not. I mean, that it's not the law. That's what seems most absurd to me. That,
you know,
crazy.
Old system. You got to remember, this industry is brokerage, trading, stock slinging mentality, and it hasn't fully, left the space yet.
Has not grown up yet. Douglas Boneparth, certified financial planner, CFP board ambassador, author of The Millennial Money Fix. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next week. If you've got any questions, just shoot us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com and hop onto the website. Don't forget, jillonmoney.com. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.